Welcome, Pathfinders, to another Pathfinder Infinite. I'm your host, Dustin Knight, and this is Infiknight Reviews. Tonight we have four amazing new products to check out, plus some really cool news from friend of the show, Owen Casey Stevens. So make sure to stick on by to the end of the show. I shouldn't say from Owen, but project coming out by Owen. There we have it. So please stick around. Make sure to stick around to the end of the show as we have some really cool products. This week we are focusing on PC options. And then, of course, next Tuesday we will have our booster bestiary. And then on next Friday, we're going to have a special all about adventures. There's some really cool APs, AP conversions, and some great adventures, maps, and other products for GMs. That will be our focus next week. So, without any further ado, let's go. Good luck focusing on PC options given the chip shortage. Ha! Yes, Alexander Goose in chat saying that it might be hard to focus on PC options with the current chip shortage. But you know what? I got a new camera, if you haven't noticed, and some new lighting. So some electronics are still getting through, and that's good. That's good. Here we have it. So first, we're going to check out the Anima Knight. Anima Knight is a base class that you can find here on Pathfinder Infinite. It is kind of a sword and magic combination class, very similar to the Magus in many ways. So an Anima Knight, their key thing is Anima. Whenever they use a action with the Anima trait, they gain 1 Anima. They could gain up to 3. With later feats and advancement, they could gain 4, possibly at level 18, even 5. And then they could spend their Anima to do cool stuff. They have feats that let them spend Anima. They have stances that let them spend Anima. Most of all, they could spend 3 Anima to cast a focus spell. In addition to their normal focus spells, they even have stance focus spells, and the class is also very much focused on stances. In particular, it has special stances that that are magical in nature. These stances are considered spells. They function as cantrips, and empower them with some sort of magic, such as, to skip ahead a little, stances that cause sand to whirl around them to give them a minor concealment, or that cause electricity to surge forth from them. So whenever they do electricity damage, the damage sweeps over to an adjacent enemy as well. A lot of cool different stances, and what stances you choose when you create your character and as you advance really help create this extremely customizable character. It's a very robust class with a lot of cool options. As the key option where you gain most of your damage from, as opposed to doing like a spell strike, instead you get smite. Smite's very simple, single action. Your next strike that hits this round deals 1d8 additional damage. Your additional damage can be based on a bunch of different elements and things. You pick 2 at the beginning, and you can pick more as you level up, but you get to pick like fire and lightning, or you could pick like, I think there's like bludgeoning, and then there's a sub list of like air, water. You pick different traits to kind of make the Anima Knight your own based on the kind of fantasy that you're trying to fulfill. Anima Knight, the first thing being covered. I personally saw it very flexible. Yes, the Anima Knight is the first thing being covered, Sasha. We are covering the Anima Knight, the Brawler, the Elementalist, and the... I'll go over the exploration table as well. We are covering some PC options tonight, and I suppose the exploration table as well. Right. So the special stances that you get with the Anima Knight, they're called bound forms. All that basically means is you can't get out of your stance normally. Instead, you get out of your stance by spending your Anima and doing some big kind of limit break, Omega end thing. So it feels kind of like a Solarian, where you build up attunement over rounds and then you burst it forward. You're going to be doing that here with your Anima. How you spend it very much depends on your ethos. I know there's like 3 different things to remember here: stance, ethos, Anima. All right, so your ethos is your class path. To put it simply, it determines what spellcasting stat you're using, the tradition of your spells, and what you can do with all that built-up Anima. So Primal Bonding here, Primal Bounding here from the Jade Avenger ethos, for example, gives you a big speed boost when you spend your anima. The Magus gives you a bonus to AC against a triggering attack. The Hexenhammer gives you additional damage to one single target as additional action that you could stack with your smite. And there's also a War Priest, which gives you Fervor, which gives you temporary hit points. So that's your basic Occult, Primal, Arcane, all 4 traditions there. And there's a little sidebar here about commentary on flavor, how each Anima Knight is different. You get to kind of choose the kind of flavor of where you get your magic from, what it means to you. There's so many customizable options here. It is a very, very customizable class. It's a very good sword and spell class, a very good Gish class like that. I enjoy how it came out. Very well done. I do enjoy this class a lot. Feats let you do stuff. The biggest thing with Feats that I noticed that hit me by surprise was that they have bonus additional feats, as you'll see here. Like, look under level 10 feats. Oh, you can see my mouse. Yeah, right here. They do have additional feats from other base classes, which I love. I want to see more base classes and archetypes do this all the time. For example, at level 4, you could get Attack of Opportunity. This is very much more of a sword class than a spell class. It does not have spells per day. You get cantrips. You get 2 cantrips. But you can spend base class feats to get spell casting, very much like an archetype. So you don't have to take the dedication. If you want to be a Magus or Anima Knight, you do not have to take the Magus dedication or the Wizard dedication to get your arcane spells. Just pick up the basic spellcasting, advanced spellcasting, all the way up to 9th level spells if you take the 20th level spellcasting feat. So you can be more of a spellcaster with this. I do want to also make a note, there is a free, if you want to see the quality of this work, there is a free add-on to this book that you can pick up called the Anima Knight that focuses a little bit more on the martialness. It's very much kind of... I have some magic behind my sword, but for the most part, I'm focusing on my sword. So yeah, very, very strong class, very versatile, a lot of really cool stuff you could do here. You could curse people to make them bleed. You can run around and hit people really fast, really far away. They have an Iodo feat that does additional damage when you attack, when you draw your sword at the same action. They have a Witchword feat that gives you bonuses against spells that then evolves into redirecting those spells at your enemies. Just a lot of really cool stuff. And a really strong class. Oh, and as for stances, yes, there's a ton of stances. You could add elemental damage. You could have sand go around you. You could have after images, like a mirror image kind of thing, happen around you. There's a Precognition Stance that gives you the effects of augury when you take your stance, but you can only look 3 rounds into the future, and gives you True Strike as a focus spell. All these stances, I forgot that for a minute, all these stances give you a focus spell. So when you pick your stance, you're not just gaining the effects of the stance when you gain your anima, you're also getting access to a focus spell, which in some cases just function like as True Strike, but in most cases they give you a special ability. Like, for example, Vampiric Stance lets you heal instead of just gaining temporary hit points whenever you use the abilities that let you gain temporary hit points, including the temporary hit points you get when you smite enemies by doing additional damage, and then as your focus spell. And then you also gain Extinguish, which means you spend all your anima. In this case, when you critically hit an opponent, you could spend all your anima to gain 3 temporary hit points per anima spent for a minute. Which, yes, if you were to use that with your focus spell, you would then also be able to heal half the amount that you gained. So Vampiric Stance all about healing when you do damage to enemies. All right. So, like I said, strong class, great looking book. Love the back, love the cover, perfect size. A decent amount of art. Has the multi-class rules, of course, so if you want to just go a multi-class anima and you're not quite sure what to do with it, you could always test it out with that. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out the Brawler. Brawler was a fan favorite from Pathfinder 1st edition. It was kind of Best described as an unarmed martial character whose key feature that most people remembered let them pick feats on the fly. It was meant to help with the fact that in first edition, martial characters, frankly, didn't have enough feats, in that there were so many feat trees that they had to dedicate themselves toward just to do the baseline of what they wanted to do, that they didn't have very many left over to pick up utility feats like Blind Fight. All right, so the Brawler, so first thing that hit me here that I thought was really cool, and I didn't notice when I first looked over this book for the year in review, is you pick a class path called a technique. That's Bruiser, Luchador, Pilgrim, or Swarmer. Each of these techniques focuses on a different base class from which you're going to get your feats when you use martial versatility. So Bruiser is like Barbarian. It gives you the ability to be considered raging for the purposes of fulfilling prerequisites for Barbarian feats that you pick up. And when you use martial versatility, you're considered raging, getting 5 temporary hit points and a +1 circumstance bonus to weapon damage. Likewise, Luchador, you're kind of a swashbuckler. So you're considered to kind of get panache when you use Tumbling Through and when you use martial versatility. And you also gain Precise Strike, but at the lowest possible level of damage when you use martial versatility. Pilgrim, you're considered a champion, and Swarmer, you are considered a... what was that? I got reread, sorry. Swarmer, you're considered a ranger. I keep on wanting to say Swarmer is a monk because I had a swarm monk. But anyway, yes, and Swarmer, you're considered a ranger. So Swarmer gives you a kind of hunt prey, and champion gets a positive or negative resistance. And then use martial versatility as a 2-action once per turn, and you can temporarily gain a feat for a minute. You could either gain a brawler feat, or you could gain a feat based on your technique. Sasha's in there saying that Nov loves the interpretation of the brawler class. So yeah, I do too. This is a really cool way to do this. I don't think this is... I'm a big, as you might have seen if you read The Shaman, I'm a big sucker of picking up class feats on the fly, picking up multi-class feats. I love the flexibility of class feats and the ability for characters to get class feats without throwing the whole system out of whack. There are some minor exceptions, but I think this class does a good job of avoiding that. Of avoiding those. I don't think this class is broken, is what I'm saying. I think this class does a good job of letting people pick up class feats without potentially breaking things. All right. As for feats, it's a great combination of utility feats, which were perfect with martial flexibility, such as percussive maintenance, letting you use repairs using athletics by just hitting stuff, and your standard powerful martial feats like Attack of Opportunity at 6th level, plus a lot of really flavorful, I almost want to call them stance feats. They're not stances. They are not stances, but they remind me of the stances in that they're named after animals, or they're inspired by normally non-martial things like tiger tactics. When you're attacking a flat-footed enemy, you do extra precision damage. Or there's another one in here really got me. Moose tactics. Yes. Moose tactics lets you stride and make a melee strike. And if you hit, there's an incapacitation stun. You could potentially stun them if they fail a fortitude saving at your class DC. So there's some of those animal feats. There are some stances as well. I'm not saying that there's no stances. I'm just saying I like seeing animal feats that aren't stances, because sometimes you want to use multiple animals on the same character, but usually with stances, you only want to know one stance. So I do enjoy that a lot. There's even possum tactics. You could feign like a possum, collapse, fall prone. Creature has to succeed at a perception check or a medicine check to recall knowledge, get your deception DC to realize if you're not dead. I mean, there's always a chance the enemy will just be like, oh, good, he's dead. Now I could eat him. Or he's knocked out. I better make sure to kill him. But, DMs don't do that. Most enemies would rather focus on the rest of the party who are currently trying to kill them rather than take out an enemy like that. Then, of course, we have the multi-class. If you want to just pick up Brawler a little, you're not 100% sure what you want to do with it. Awesome. Pick up the multi-class. There's also a pre-generated character. I really appreciate that. Little backstory here. It's a dwarf ASMR bounty hunter. they explain what feats they get at different levels, which is really cool. You could pick it up, just use it. You could use it as an NPC if you're a GM, or you could pick it up as a PC and just check it out. Kind of check out the class and see what the author here wanted to do with it. All right, Vor NGO. I don't know what that is. All right, so. The Brawler. Here it is. Arkhan's Archive, the Brawler class. Fun looking class. Great way if you want to get into kind of martial arts, unarmed martial arts especially, without feeling like you're a mystic who's doing all this crazy magic focus spell stuff. It's great for that. It is absolutely great for that. And thirdly, we have Elemental Affinities. Elemental Affinities is an alternative to Ancestry. So instead of an affinity, you are picking an Ancestry. You still select a heritage, so you could still use this with versatile heritages. But these are effectively, you could kind of call them super plain touched. You're kind of, by default, you're supposed to be a human. Frankly, I would probably allow most of these feats in this book to be used by plain touch. So if you're an Ifrit and you just don't have a good 7th level feat that fits your character, if you're an Ifrit gnome, you could probably take something from this. Like, ask your GM. Most of the feats in here I'd be fine with. So, likewise, if there's an Ifrit feat you really want and you're a fire affinity character from this book, you could probably pick that without picking the Ifrit heritage per se. These heritages are, I will admit, I do love the heritages a lot better than the standard plain touched, who mostly just give you dark vision. I think just getting dark vision, especially if you're already an ancestry with dark vision or an ancestry with low light vision, is kind of lame. I'm not saying dark vision isn't good. It is good. It's really good. But compare that to, say, Air Heritage gets you Gale, where you can slow your descent and take no damage from falling, no matter how far you fall. That's a lot more interesting, and you could do a lot more stuff with that than merely being able to see. I know being able to see is really good, but usually if there's any, unless your entire party is dark vision based and it's a extremely niche campaign, you know, you're going to have somebody with a light already in the party and therefore not need that dark vision. So yes, we have Air Affinity. Gale lets you fall as far as you want. Storm makes you resistant to electricity. And Breeze makes you use a seek action to detect undetected creatures by hearing them from far away, which I think that's really, really cool as well. Earth Affinity. They have the Boulder Stance. It lets you get a circumstance bonus to your fortitude against shove or trip as long as you stay in the same square. Gemstone gives you become trained in crafting, and you get the specialized crafting skill feat, but you get 2 specialties instead of 1. And Iron gives you 12 hit points instead of 10 in the Die Hard feat. Maybe a little too strong. I'd have to see it actually play out in person and see what the rest of the party are playing for ancestries, because heritages are not the most balanced across the board thing in Pathfinder 2nd edition. Some of those early heritages aren't quite as good, and then some of them, especially looking at you, half-elf and human, are significantly more powerful than others. Fire Ancestry, yeah, you could get resistance to fire. You can regain hit points by jumping into fire. You could demoralize your foes. A lot of inspiration there from your traditional Ifrit from Pathfinder 1st edition. And then they have some less traditional elements. They have Light Affinity. They have where you could be a rainbow. Your skin is all multicolored. You could, very much like the Gnome Heritage, you can make it harder to, you get negative energy resistance because you're so positive all the time. Reminds me very much of that rainbow colored Gnome Heritage. Or you can just get light as a divine any divine cantrip. Single divine cantrip castable, is that as will? It is at will. So again, make sure to talk to your players about what they want and look over what they want, because certain cantrips at will as an ancestry heritage, maybe not. Others, yeah, sure. You could cast Approximate all day long, or Light, or there are certain spells that aren't quite as bad as that. Light Heritage does have a lot of stuff in common with the Asimir. It has a halo. It has light weapon specialization. It has wings eventually. Then it has Porcelain. I liked this a lot. Porcelain is saved by Porcelain means like you were. It's a lot like the Grand Bazaar or the Guns and Gears ancestry, the automaton. It means you were rebuilt into kind of a robot. Not robot, but into a partially mechanical. Specifically, they use kind of a porcelain plates all over your body, which is really cool flavor-wise. You could probably do a lot here with existing automaton feats, and vice versa. I think a lot of these would work fine on automaton. The heritages have more to do about why you became a porcelain. Like corrected means that while you can't lie, you get some bonuses to social stuff because your mind had to be reprogrammed as part of becoming saved by porcelain. Whereas cleansed means you were cured by disease or poison in order to when you were reborn as a saved by porcelain. And improved means you have an extra limb and your body is augmented in some way that makes it very clear that you're not merely a human anymore. They have some really fun feats here. You could get a compartment, very much like, it reminds me of that Warforged. I think that was a magic item where you got a bag of holding in your chest. They have prosthetic arms, replacement eyes, magically slippery skin, climbing enhancements. You could integrate a wand into your body, play out like Mega Man. A lot of cool stuff. I love the Saved by Porcelain. This might be my favorite here. Incidentally, this book is, I believe it's either free or pay what you want. If it's pay what you want, check it out. And if you like it and you find yourself using it, you could always go back and pay the suggested price, which I believe was like 50 cents or $1 or something. So this one is open to just go ahead and check out. There's also Shadow Affinity if you want to play a total Kuthanite. You could be like a Duskborn, Eclipseborn, or a Vigil, which means you were became a Shadowborn through necromantic things, through necromantic rituals or what have you. It lets you read intentions from shadows, even if you can't see somebody's face. It lets you get clean shadows to your body so you can sneak around better. It does everything that you honestly expect a shadow ancest heritage to do. I would like to see more shadow stuff. I know a lot of people say it's like grimdark or what have you, or it's been overdone, but I feel like we don't really have enough. We had some stuff from the first character options book, and we had the Shadowcaster from Secrets of Magic, but I like seeing shadow stuff, so I'm glad to see this in here. There's a spirit affinity here, especially for people with old souls. They people tend to like them naturally a little bit better than most, and spirits tend to be attracted to them. It's a little more esoteric than the others, but it's cool. I loved the spirit folk in OA and 3.5. Very much reminds me of that in terms of people are naturally get along with you, and you have a certain luck about you and a certain aura around you. Some level of empathy around you. Pretty cool. It can eventually get Life Sense, I believe, at level 9? Oh, level 5. Level 5, you get Life Sense 10 feet, which is always a really, really, really cool extrasensory like that is always really helpful and underrated. Says the person who just spent 3 minutes talking about how they thought Dark Vision wasn't good enough. They got Water Affinity if you want to play Super Undine. And to go through this real fast, they also have Wood Affinity, which I love. Others probably assume you're a bit dense. I see what they did there. I like that a lot. They have Wood Affinity, which is fun if you want to play a Leshy, but you don't want to go all the way into being a Wood Spirit Leshy, is what it reminded me of, probably because there was a Seed Pod feat that just stuck out at me immediately. And that was it. The Elemental Affinities. So before we leave for the day, just to go over everything real fast, we have Elemental Affinities, a replacement for Ancestries. We have Arkhan's Archive, the Brawler class, for those who want to beat people up and play like a unarmed fighter that dips into either Swashbuckler, Champion, Ranger, or Barbarian. Oh, incidentally, there is also a feat here, I believe at level 2 or 4, that lets you dip into monk feats. So you'll be able to do that as well. By dip, I mean use martial flexibility to temporarily gain for 1 minute a feat of your choice. Then there is Tome of the Anima Knight, which if you pick this up, make sure to also pick up Tome of the Adamantine Knight or Tome of the Anima Knight, Adamantine Ethos. They are gishes. They are sword and spellcasters that combine cantrips with stances to create your very own combination of spellcaster fighter that builds up Anima over time to unleash it in a giant cascade of magic. I will true that next time, actually. I'm going to do the exploration tracker next week when we talk about GM tools, because that is definitely a GM tool I'm realizing. But I do want to go over something else that is really important to me and that I like a lot. So there have been more and more announcements, and I want people to check this out, as there's a really cool project coming up the tubes here for Pathfinder, or should I say Starfinder Infinite, and that is Shadowfinder. So those who haven't heard of it before, Shadowfinder is a play mode for Starfinder. Sort of best way to think of it, for if you don't understand that completely, is it's very much like a campaign setting. It takes place on Earth, or at least a planet like our Earth in our current age, in our current level of technology. The idea being that after the Pathfinders went to Earth in a certain adventure path, that travel caused a meld between different planes to create this kind of primal planar energy and plane called the Shadow Blast. That's kind of a combination of the first world, the plane of shadows, and some of the infernal planes. This has caused magic to begin manifesting in the world, but in very, very subtle ways. It's not like Shadowrun, where dragons came out of the mountains and everyone took pictures of them with their cell phones and everyone accepts there's trolls and elves. No. This is very much more like the Men in Black comics, or even kind of like Hellboy, I suppose, where magic's very much on the down low. Maybe not a complete masquerade, like Enforced Masquerade, but very much on the down low. So you'll still get all the levels of technology. You could still do stuff like use modern minis or modern terrain, modern pictures, Google Maps for that matter, for your campaign without wondering, why isn't magic changed everything? Well, it's because it's on the down low. It uses the Starfinder rules, which is really cool, but it will have its own set of base classes, I believe. And if you want to learn more, you should totally check out Owen Casey Stevens' blog. He will have Shadowfinder posts all over the place, and you can click on any of them at the very first sentence to click on the main Shadowfinder information page and learn all about it. In addition, you can email him at... Oh, did I just get his... Oh, in addition, you can email him at shadowfinderlist@gmail.com. So make sure to email Owen Casey Stevens at shadowfinderlist@gmail.com, and he will email updates about Shadowfinder, when it's coming out, the different books that will be there for it. He recently emailed everyone on the list explaining us that there will be, for example, a Shadowfinder compatible monster book that will also be on Starfinder Infinite. So I love this. I think this is really cool. I will admit I wasn't into Starfinder when it first came out until I saw Owen Casey Stevens' first campaign setting for it, and then I'm like, oh man, I'm all in. So seeing another one makes me really, really excited. He does really well with play modes and campaign settings, as you'd expect from a veteran like him. This project is really badass. I love it. Just reading it's going to be a blast. Like, even if I never get to play it, just reading the conceptual ideas of Golarian's influence, Pathfinder, Starfinder's influence on Earth is going to be really badass. It's meant to kind of take place time-wise during the gap, I think is the best way to put it. Don't quote me on that. There's something in there kind of, it's either right after the gap starts or kind of during the gap, maybe causing the gap. There's a lot of flexibility here as to where you as a GM want to place this, which very smart, very cool. You could use this as a bridge between your Pathfinder and Starfinder campaign. It would be really cool to be like, put in your Starfinder ancestors in this, or put your Pathfinder descendants in this. I think would make for a really, really fun bridge for a lot of parties. There's a lot of room here for references like that. Or just play around, because Starfinder is an amazing system. It's really well balanced, and there's a lot of room for growth, and we have not seen everything yet that the system could do. So I'm glad to see this. In addition, I just got an email. One little second. I am so sorry that I'm doing this right now. Yes, I can announce this. And this is my big announcement that I was really hoping that I could announce, and in fact I can. This show, Infinite Reviews, is going to be hosted. It's going to be hosted on the Paizo Twitch channel, in addition to continuing to be hosted here. I'm not 1,000,000% sure how the technical logistics of that works, but we are going to get it all sorted out, and I am so excited and happy to get a wider audience to help promote these amazing works from all these wonderful, wonderful Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite creators. So I was completely blown away when I was approached and asked to get hosted there, and we'll see what that's going to bring. Hopefully I'll be able to keep up with the chats. Hopefully more and more people will see all these amazing Infinite products, and hopefully a lot more people will be inspired to make more Infinite products, because the more we have out there, the bigger our system gets, and the more inspiration we have for more products, more campaign settings, more classes, more feats, more monsters, and more adventures. I'm sure things are just going to get better and better as we get more and more and more and more content. And I can't wait to see what the future holds. So with that being said, I think that's the highest note I could possibly leave on. So thank you very much for watching the show. I will be here and on the official Paizo Twitch channel next Friday at 4 o'clock to go over some awesome adventures. I will also be doing Booster Bestiary on Tuesday at 6 o'clock Pacific, and that will just be here on our little Twitch, Facebook, YouTube channel, so make sure to check that out if you want to help me make some cool monsters, spells, feats, whatever we get inspired by opening various booster packs from various TCGs. Thank you once again, everyone, for showing up. Have yourself a great weekend. Don't forget you have hero points, and I hope you don't roll any natural ones when it's not good for the story. Have yourself a great weekend. Bye, everyone.